From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It is Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi. Corey Clark is here now in the flesh. We recorded about 20 minutes worth of show, and the quality wasn't good. And Corey's like, I'm not putting my name on that. I'm driving over.
Well, the quality wasn't good because of the technical reasons, not because of our banter. Our banter was incredible.
It was really good. I was trying to figure ways to piece it and salvage it. But alas, Corey got in his car, his automobile, drove all the way from the east side to the Midtown offices. I appreciate you, buddy. Would you like a glass of vino right now?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. I'm all good.
Little Cab Sav.
Okay, nice,
Thursday
man.
night, you know?
I know, it looks
Warm
nice.
the soul.
Yeah.
It's good. Tastes good. I got to get rid of that bottle before I leave. And all the other bottles maybe at some point. We're brought to you by our good friends at Zaxby's, indescribably good. You know, actually, this kind of jogged my memory. If you remember the Christmas party we had last week.
I do remember
almost
that, yeah.
7 days to the date right now. There was cheese curds, apparently, which I don't know, like, what are cheese? I don't know what's the difference between cheese curds and a mozzarella stick and all this sort of thing.
Mozzarella.
Yeah, mozzarella. It reminded me of the fried white cheddar bites from Zaxby's. They're batter fried white cheddar cheese pieces with marinara dipping sauce. The red marinara sauce makes me feel kind of festive and holiday. Bite-sized and gooey, cheesy goodness. Yes, please. Mm-hmm. One of the great Zappetizers at Zaxby's. Check them out. But yeah, I liked them a little bit, but then I'm like, actually, you know what this reminds me of is what we had at Zaxby's. And the Zaxby's reminds me of those cheesy puff balls. They used to come in those canisters back in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
So everything's about nostalgia for me, Corey. Take me back to my youth when I was cool and full of vigor and optimism, and I'm game.
Okay, all right. So that's what cheese curds do for you.
Cheese curds do to me.
Okay, nice, man.
We both also work for WarChant.com. Thankfully, very grateful for that. Use the promo code SAVE50FSU. If you've never subscribed before, that'll get you 50% off an annual membership. So, I mean, $50. I mean, not even $50. I think it's less than $50. You get a whole year of great stuff from Ira, from Corey, Michael Langston's recruiting, Gene Williams dialed into everything that's going on, and then I'll drop some videos every now and then. We spoke to players on Thursday. We'll speak about that a little bit, and we'll also get to the remaining questions, or maybe we'll get to a few and then save some for Monday so we have something to talk about. We'll do a quick Monday show to send you folks off on your holiday, your Christmas, the proper way. But officially came down from Florida State on Thursday evening that Chris Thomsen from TCU will be a deputy head coach, which Joe the lawyer, my lawyer Joe, what's a deputy coach, Aslan? I'm like, I don't know, man. I think you probably get paid a little bit more, and you can, maybe boss somebody else around a little bit. It's not like running backs, tight ends coach kind of clash heads. Thomsen maybe can pull rank on Dugans. Can't pull rank on Odell. Don't, Chris.
Right.
By the way, Chris, if you're listening, don't do that. Don't pull rank on Odell. Everybody else you can probably pull rank on.
I wouldn't know what a deputy – I don't know what that would even mean. I've never heard that really before, but I just think it's semantics. I think it's just another cool little name. It's kind
of like director of digital media, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Video
or senior
guy.
writer or whatever. I think I'm a senior writer or lead
writer.
So yeah, I think it's just semantics. I don't necessarily know that there's a hierarchy where like, okay, here's your head coach, he's number one. This guy's the guy right underneath him. Could be though. Maybe maybe that's what deputy means. Is if
Norvell's wife is popping out another kid and he's going to miss practice, maybe Thompson's the guy who runs it.
Or he's just doing crazy things like Gene Hackman on the sub in Crimson Tide, and Denzel has to take over and send him to the brig. He has to be deputy. He's the deputy. It's my ship now. What movie is that? I'm the captain now.
Captain
Phillips?
Phillips, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Two different movies, two different sea vessels, but same principle. I guess there's a chance that, if Norvell just loses it and becomes a Looney Tunes guy, that the deputy coach takes over. But other than that, I'm not real sure.
So, Chris Thomsen brings a breadth and wealth of coaching knowledge. Corey talked about on the show yesterday. He's been a head coach at his alma mater, Abilene Christian, and TCU is also his alma mater. I think he started at Abilene and then finished his career at TCU, or maybe vice versa. One or the other. I got to get one of those right. Also played baseball, apparently. But, lately.
It was good at baseball. Yeah. Like, his 1 year at TCU, it was really good.
He was the male athlete of the year at TCU.
But he was really close. I think they were in the Southwest Conference then.
Correct.
And he was really close to winning the Triple Crown.
That is correct as well.
Yeah. What did he hit? What are his numbers?
373, 70 ribbies, 21 dingers.
That's a lot, man.
That's
TC,
good.
that's good. I don't know what did he play? He must have played minor league baseball.
17th round of the MLB draft by the A's, 2 seasons in their minor league system. Retired from baseball, returned to play 1 season on the football team at Abilene Christian.
Which would have been like 93-ish, 94-ish?
That is correct. Second team All-American, first team All-Lone Star Conference tight end.
I bet he played with, I'm trying to think of some Oakland A's that would have made it up through the system and been good major league players, but I bet he played with a few of them in those
McGuire,
years.
Canseco?
No, they were already there. So I don't.
Oh, you're talking about guys through the minor league system? I mean, I don't know who got.
Well, yeah, 91, who would have been their minor league system. Nobody great. Don't look it up. That's not anything we want Aslan to look up. But yeah, so that's interesting too. And like I said, he had a very successful head coaching career. Maybe that's why he's deputy.
Okay. 51-21 record, 6 straight trips to Division II playoffs.
Actually, 61-21. They took away 10 of his wins one of the years for something. They went 10-3, and then in the official records, it's 0-3. But they still played in the playoffs, so I'm counting
61-21 for us, Chris.
Yep, 61-21. Plus, he won the game at Texas Tech as the interim coach when Tuberville left. So a 62-21 career record, which by my quick math is right at like 75%. It's a 750 winning percentage. You can live with that.
Really good. In 18, only allowed 1.23 sacks per game, and then 1.29 in 2017. Those were his first 2 years. Those were 14th and 19th in the country. Not as well this year, but they did average 204 yards rushing per game in his bio, he says there, though. So, again, this is another guy that Norvell is familiar with. So, I mean, Norvell talked about having different guys that don't think alike, but same kind of work ethic or whatever. Not different voices, but maybe think alike. This is another guy that he's friends with. I'm not that upset with it because I think offense, it appears that's what he wants to do on offense, and maybe to a certain degree on defense by bringing in Adam Fuller. But I think there's going to probably be a mishmash of guys on the defensive side of things. But hey, man, offense is your thing. You have the family recipe. Why not bring guys who used to work in the family restaurant and know how to make it best?
Well, and you know what's, to me, because I know people can try to associate that with the previous staff, because a lot of that happened with the previous, and quite frankly, it happens with every staff. Jimbo took over here. He made sure that Trickett and Dawsey, guys that he had a relationship with. Coley, I think he knew, had a history with him somehow.
At LSU.
At LSU, as he was a GA maybe. Yeah. So he got guys that he was familiar with too. That's what they all do. I think the one thing that should make Florida State fans a little more encouraged than maybe the last time around is, okay, well, Dillingham's his guy. Well, Dillingham was good enough that he went to Auburn. This guy might be his guy. Okay, well, he was also at Texas Tech. He was the head coach, and he was also at TCU. Yeah. I mean, he was wanted. Other schools wanted him. And, in fact, I was talking about this in the first iteration of this show, that it's always a good sign when you read from a newspaper of the place where the coach is leaving, whether it's whether it's a website or a newspaper, if they're not thrilled by it, like if it's considered a big blow to the program.
How is it framed
in the Dallas Morning News, the story that came out Wednesday night made it sound like it was a big blow. He was a guy that had been there 3 years. The first 2 years they were top 10 in the nation in fewest sacks allowed and fewest tackles for loss allowed.
Top 20 in sacks allowed. Because they said it was 14th and 19th.
Whatever. What do you got?
But maybe if you factor in tackles for loss, maybe they were top 10. This was in terms of sacks allowed. They were
and best 10. In the conference. According to the story, they were number one in the Big 12 in fewest sacks allowed. So that's a good sign. They took a big step back this year. I think they were 105th in sacks allowed. Florida State was 128th. So do with that what you will. But he's had a very good history of offensive linemen. He had 4 guys from his first team at TCU get drafted or play in the NFL or sign NFL contracts. But also he just signed or helped sign the highest rated offensive line recruit in TCU history. Again, when this program gets to where it needs to be, that needs to become more of a staple of this program. Not turning, pieces of coal into diamonds. Just go find the diamonds. Quit. You don't need projects all the time. You're at Florida State. Enough with the 2-star projects. And in fact, they got another signee today. Florida State
Willis,
did, who was a 3-star kid that I don't even know who else was offering him. Maybe Lloyd Willis turns out to be the next Walter Jones. You need depth, so I get why you would take somebody like that. But the way the bio read on him was that he was getting interest from schools like Central Florida and somewhere else. Not even that he had offers.
Tasty.
So you're still not beating out the Clemsons and Georgias and Oklahomas and Ohio States of the world for this offensive line talent. At some point, that needs to change.
Absolutely.
Maybe this guy's the guy.
6'6", 310 plays at Killian High School down there in Miami. His rivals page has FIU and Indiana. Or not even Indiana has an offer, but FIU has another team that had offered him. I mean, yeah, to that point, though, I think, if you're Mike Norvell, I mean, I don't know. The quarterback thing, I think, was kind of interesting with him declining to maybe pursue Jeff Sims and then going after other quarterbacks. But I think otherwise, you just have to keep the kids that you know are there. It's one of those things where it's the bar's closing. It's 1:57 a.m. You're a lonely guy. That'll do. I think this time around.
Or a lonely woman.
Or
we
a
have
lonely
females
woman.
on
Yeah.
That'll do, yeah.
I think that's kind of where you're at right now. And then, this will all kind of it'll all come out in the wash.
You're not a beauty, but hey, you're all right.
There we go.
There you go. Well, boss knew what was up.
There we go. So, and the thing that we buried kind of in the lead here is that in the announcement of Thomsen's hire, it just says that he's an offensive assistant. We would assume offensive line coach, but, maybe there's some sort of crazy configuration that Norvell
Maybe he
wants
is
to do
getting
this.
the Patriots O-line coach. He's still got an offer out to him.
Come on, Dante. Come on, man. Easier on the joints. Kind of getting a little bit old.
Yeah.
Long in the tooth. Come down to Tallahassee, man. Have a few drinks. Come to the coast. Have a few laughs.
Have a few laughs.
By the way, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. We agree on that?
I feel like it's a movie that, Christmas
It occurs during Christmas, but there's no Christmas spirit.
they have a Christmas song at the very begining. What is it? It's Hollis. It's the
Christmas in Hollis,
Christmas
Run
in
DMC.
Hollis, the Run DMC
I
song.
love Die Hard, by the way. I'm not denigrating the greatness that is Die Hard.
No, I get it. I
it's
don't want it's too old an argument to have. It's like is a hot dog a sandwich. But because people dig their heels in on weird things. I don't really care either way. It's an awesome movie that features Christmas very prominently. Okay. So much so that at the final scene, when he shoots Hans,
what's wrapped in
he's used wrapping paper to tape the gun to his back. Spoiler, kids. Great movie. You didn't hear that if you're under the age of 28. You probably haven't seen Die Hard. It's a really good movie. Forget what I just said. But he says the
yippee-ki-yay. No,
well, that's not a Christmas would be. He says ho ho ho. Now I have a machine gun or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Christmas stuff in it.
Okay.
So no, it's not a Christmas movie like you're learning about the magic of Christmas and
you're not
always believe.
If I ever have in-laws, I'm not showing up with like the Die Hard DVD. Like, hey guys, I got this.
I got
year.
Miracle on 34th Street. We got Rudolph, and then we're gonna finish it off with Die Hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Was that Paul Gleason's best finest hour?
I still think Breakfast Club,
okay,
as the principal or assistant. I don't think he was the principal. He's the assistant principal. I think that was his finest hour. Yeah, but he's good, and he's just too. To me, he's a little too dumb. Like you would want a cop, especially they make him look like such a stooge. And you would think that if he got to that role, he has some common sense about him. He would be like, oh, what's he doing up here, this guy shooting everybody? He's just going to get everybody killed. It's like, no, man, he's helping you. But they had to have it in. They had to have one of those characters.
Like when they're shooting out the lights, and he's like, they're going for the lights. They're shooting out the lights.
That actually is a really good scene.
And then the FBI guys show up, Johnson & Johnson.
No, not related. And one of them's on the phone, and he goes, this is Agent Johnson. No, the other one. That's a funny line, too. Anyway, kids, go see Die Hard.
It is a good movie. Embrace your
But you can watch it in July, and it works just as well as if you watch it in December.
So that happened. Also, maybe some rumblings of a linebacker coach getting announced. Chris Marr from Mississippi State reached out to my Mississippi State Connect and said that he thinks so. But we can't. That's not something we're going to put to print. We can talk about it on the podcast because my name's on the podcast too, and I will stand by that. On Thursday, we spoke to players. And I'm not trying to gloss over Chris Marr. Maybe I should pull up his bio or whatever. But I mean, if he's coming, maybe it's a package deal. Maybe T-Buck's like, hey, I'll come. But this guy might be good.
They probably work well together. It's the back seven, man. They work well together. They work in concert together. They're used to each other. Although they did give up that late touchdown to the Ole Miss kid before he peed on everything.
Well, these things kind of happen. Oh, he's a young guy. I don't know. For Chris Marr to me sounds like an old guy.
Yeah, I think he's like 30 or 31, isn't he?
Yeah. went to Vandy. He's from Memphis. It was Vandy as a QC guy, quality control, then a GA, then inside linebackers, and he was at Mississippi State just this one season as a defensive run game coordinator and linebackers.
Mississippi State, though.
Yes.
So again, when you're looking, and we don't know if it's him,
SEC West.
but when you're looking at putting together a staff, just again when you compare who Taggart hired, who Taggart had relationships with already that he brought in, you're looking at Telly Lockett, who basically hitched himself to Taggart, right?
No, he was.
Where was he? Where was
he?
He
Was at
before?
Oregon State.
He was. That's right.
Yeah.
David Kelly, who didn't even really want to be a coach. It doesn't sound like. Raymond Woody, Alonzo Hampton. Mm-hmm. Those were guys that, frankly, weren't
the circle of trust,
but they weren't coaching in the SEC West.
Right.
They were coaching with Willie Taggart. Norvell has these connections, but all of these connections, in my opinion anyway, have gone and proven themselves at other schools. They've been wanted by big schools, SEC teams. Mm-hmm. The one that you'd have the most but the most questions about is probably Fuller. Mm-hmm. But even he's been doing it for 2 decades. You know what I mean? And he was hired at, Doc Holliday hired him at Marshall from Chattanooga, and then Norvell really liked what he did. I mean, he's slowly made his way up the ladder, but he certainly wasn't just like hitched to Norvell's wagon. This isn't like I got my boys with me, I got my guys with me, I got my friends with me. I can trust these guys. We're going to do what we did at South Florida at Florida State. Let's get the band back together like that. Yeah, Norvell has tentacles out, and he has connections probably with all these guys, but it's not like these are all my guys. These are, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Yeah. They're his guys. They're good hires, you would think, but they should be more appealing because they've gone out and earned their bona fides at other schools that had no connect. Maybe didn't have a connection with Norvell.
Let's hop to one of these questions real quick, and then we'll pivot back. Tommy Hawk Chop, left over from the Renegade Express.
Oh, we're doing more Renegade Express. All right.
Wake up. It's Christmas, and all we want is a competent coaching staff. Corey has stated his only concern is the defensive coordinator due to –
I just did it. Literally just did it like 6 seconds. I'm repeating myself way too much.
No. That's why I was going to this question.
Okay.
Corey's concern is the DC due to we could have any big name, one would think. I would say staff cohesiveness is more important. Case in point, Harlan Barnett. Maybe really good, but it seems like he was not on the same page as Taggart. Of course, it may be that Taggart was in a different library. As we round out the staff, any ideas on the makeup of the defensive staff and the positions they will coach? Well, again, we just floated one of the names out there, maybe as linebackers coach, Terrell Buckley, possibly DB's coach.
We're going to keep that thing going until it happens.
Keeping it alive. So right now they got 5 assistants. They've got Thomsen. They've got Dillingham, they've got Fuller, Odell, and Dugan. So they got 5 more spots. And we would think, running backs coach, probably, tight ends coach.
DB,
linebacker, and then special teams slash maybe something else.
But no, it seems like he's a guy that will just have a dedicated special teams coordinator, which is fair. You should, I think. He's right. I agree with that.
I just hate to think about, if you kept Lockett on staff, you keep him as your tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator. Then you have a running backs coach who's just a running backs coach. I feel like those, I don't know, a lot of schools have just a running backs coach, but you have to be like an ace recruiter if you're going to be just a running backs coach.
Yeah, one of these guys is going to be the recruiting coordinator. Yeah. So I don't know who that will be. Maybe Dillingham. He seems like but he's your OC. Yeah. I don't know.
That's why I like keeping Lockett around.
Yeah, then that's certainly as you brought up a couple days, maybe it was yesterday. You brought up the assistants he mentioned as far as helping in the recruiting. He mentioned Odell, Dugans, Fuller, Dillingham, and Lockett. Those were the 5. I thought that was telling about Telly. See what I did there?
Oh.
But yeah, when it comes to Fuller, I talked to him. I had probably I think I interviewed him I had a 12-minute interview that I posted on YouTube. I thought was really interesting. He really is an insightful dude. He gives good answers. And then afterwards, I talked to him for probably another 5 or 7 minutes. I'm really impressed by him. I really am. He's an impressive guy. He's a confident guy. You can tell he just knows what he's doing. But that implies that Harlan Barnett didn't. When I talked to Harlan Barnett, I got similar vibes. He didn't have the Boston accent. But I have been impressed with Fuller. My skepticism isn't because I don't think he'll do the job. I think it's too much to even call it skepticism. I'm cautiously optimistic about him just because of of where he was in his career, and Norvell only coached with him for a year. But I certainly trust Mike Norvell to know what a good defensive coordinator looks like. He's worked with enough of them, for heaven's sake. At Arizona State, at Pittsburgh, he was hired he had to get him at Memphis. His former one is at Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So he's been connected and touched other defensive coordinators, so he knows what a good one looks like. And the guy has been really impressive when he talks. If you guys go watch that video, you'll see what I'm talking about. His answers are really sharp and really insightful.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. I want to pivot to something else and then maybe get to another question or two, and then we'll probably keep this one a little bit short.
And then leave and go enjoy our holidays.
We'll keep this one short, and then because we'll have something for Monday. Although, I mean, heck, who's really going to work on Monday? But we're going to do a show just for you anyways.
We are?
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe if nothing important happens, maybe we won't. But and maybe the first show will be from El Paso, and you'll be in the A, and I'll be in El Paso. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with this, the Fuller resume or the pedigree. Because, I mean, naturally the instinct is like, go get a big name guy. And this is not a guy that no one's really heard of.
Not even a big name guy, because how many defensive coordinators can you name off the top of your head? I can name like 8 maybe around the country. It's not so much big name as big school.
Okay,
that was
right.
I think that's a better description.
Well, to that point, you talk about head coaching candidates, and, they went after Bob Stoops. We think they probably went after James Franklin to a large degree. I mean, it's hard to pull head coaches to leave good gigs. I mean, a coordinator at Ohio State, I think Alex Grinch left Ohio State to go to Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know if he was a co-DC with somebody maybe at Ohio State, and that's why he went to Oklahoma to run his kind of own thing, or maybe – because, I think Shiano was still there last year, if I'm not mistaken. That's another thing. I mean, you can't pull a guy from – you can't – Brent Venables is not going to leave Clemson to be a DC somewhere else. You can't pull.
No.
I mean, maybe Dan Lanning at Georgia, despite the fact that he's close and tight with, with Mike Norvell, just might be like, listen, man, I love you. I'd love to work for you, but like Georgia's just so much closer to the mountaintop right now. If I stay here one more year and we actually get to the playoff next year, I'll probably be able to get a head coaching job as opposed to it might be a 2-3 year thing before Tallahassee is buzzing again.
Yeah.
So it's hard to also pull a coordinator from a good gig to a gig with right now
from a playoff caliber, top 20 caliber program to get one of their DCs would be really hard. Yeah. You'd have to do what you did with Pruitt, who was not their DC, but was I think he was their DB's coach.
Yeah.
I think. So he had worked with Saban and he had worked with Kirby. Mm-hmm. So he had been around that, some osmosis. They talked highly of him. So you promote him as a DC. You're not going to get Alabama's DC to come be your DC. You could get Alabama's linebackers coach to come be your DC. But so in that regard, who knows? I really hope it works because he's a really enjoyable guy to talk to. At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Knolls since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. On Thursday, we spoke to players. We spoke to Amari Gaynor, Leonard Warner, as well as Andrew Baselli. I think the really interesting thing was Andrew Baselli's, the conversation we had with him. Apparently, Baselli, one of the more tenured guys at Florida State now, apparently is BFFs with maybe one of the most important guys that's about to enroll in one of the newest Seminoles with the quarterback from Arizona, Chubba Purdy. How did that work out?
Not apparently. You were there. You recorded it.
Oh, I'm just trying to.
You're setting me up. Nice. I feel bad because I wasn't even there. Thanks, Plummer.
You wrote the story.
I did write the story.
Plumbers are cable men these
days?
Yeah,
Plummer was supposed to be there at number one, I'd forgotten all about it. So even if he'd gotten there on time, I wouldn't have been able to get to the availability. I mean, I'm not used to everyday availability. It's really astounding. It's been great, right?
Okay, yeah.
We got 4 assistants yesterday, which we never do on a recruiting day.
Awesome.
I think we get Odell later on today.
Yeah, that's true.
We're getting players. So anyway, I'd forgotten there was availability because last year after signing day, I don't think we had availability till like the day before the bowl game. There was just a huge gap. So
there wasn't a bowl game last year, Corey.
Sorry, then we didn't have availability till the next signing day. That's right. We didn't have a bowl game
until the next year.
Yeah, until February. but yeah, so I had the plumber coming at 1. Sink was it was pretty gross, man. I don't know how this happens, but my sink was just filling up with water. It would
Kitchen
slowly
or bathroom
would slowly
all that hair off the top of your head, right?
Well, so anyway, so literally like I left on a Tuesday with water in my sink about, I don't know, 6 inches high.
Oh, jeez, that much water?
Yeah, I came back Friday or whatever it was still 6 inches high. Like there was just no draining at all. So finally got the plumber out. He comes after about 30 minutes. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Clark, come look at this." I'm like, "Oh gosh, what is this?" And he just turns on. He has water filled up, and then he pulls the little plunger thing out, and it drains. It's perfect. And I go, "Oh man, that's awesome." I go, "Was it just like stopped up a little bit?" And he had this little container thing in his hand, and he showed me what was in it.
All your like little stubble from shaving and
but
stuff.
Yes, it looked like a dog had just been shaved, like completely off. It's all from my. I probably shave 2 or 3 times a week in that sink, and it's not just the facial hair; it's the head. So that was gross. I don't know what I did wrong. Tell me what I did wrong. Am I not supposed to shave over the sink?
I do.
Yeah. Well, eventually it's gonna clog up, I guess.
And I mean, I comb my hair and I comb my beard and I shed everywhere, and I just wash it down the sink, and it works out pretty.
Yeah. Well, it's really gross when it comes out
of
when it clogs up the pipes.
Maybe I'll put down some Drano before I leave town.
Yeah, you should. Everybody should. If you're listening to this, that's our PSA for Christmas time. But anyway, going back to Baselli, yeah. So his mom, who I didn't realize this until I was writing that story on Thursday, was Miss California, 1998. Or did you look that up? Was it 98?
I did not see what year it was, but I couldn't even find a photo of her in her tiara and her sash and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, she was actually a USC cheerleader. Tony Baselli guy figured life out pretty well, man.
But you know what's crazy about that? I'm positive. Was he the number 1 pick in the draft?
No, I thought that was like number 2 or 3.
Well, you said it like I was way off.
No,
like
I'm
he
sorry.
was number 30.
Let's see here. I don't know. It doesn't say what year she won it. Let me go back and look at it. But continue your story.
Okay, so I remember reading an article about him. His
1987, she won it.
87. Well, that makes more sense. Not 1998. 87, really?
Yeah, that's what it says.
34. So she's about 50 now, right? Probably.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, so I remember reading a story about Baselli when he was a senior at USC or a junior at USC, and he was like the number 1 offensive lineman in the country.
Second overall pick, sorry.
So there you go. And he said that he met her at a party. And you're dubious when a big, huge dude meets a beautiful woman at a party. A big, huge dude that's going to be a millionaire real quick.
Can I interrupt you one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
His mom won Miss Teen California in 1987. She was Miss Teen California in 87.
I see.
So now it makes sense.
Okay. That does make sense.
I'm going to stop talking now.
There you go. So either way, it's still a great honor.
Absolutely.
Not as great, obviously. So I was reading the story, and you hear about, he's dating a cheerleader from USC. Well, she knew what she was doing. Like she knew what was going to be coming down the pipeline with his career and the $1 million. Well, he swears, and so does she, and she had friends in the story that were quoted that literally had no idea who he was when they met at a party. Even though she was a cheerleader.
Yeah.
She had no idea who he was, and
offensive lineman.
Yeah, and she certainly didn't know that he was like a big deal. So that was cool, right? That like you could think a guy at that time in his life that has that many millions ahead of him would be really dubious about the people that hang around him and what they want.
Right.
But that was by all accounts, love without any vision of the future. Just falling in love with the person that you're falling in love with.
He was also like 6'5", pretty
good-looking
striking
dude.
guy,
Yeah.
So.
And they have 5 kids. One of them is Tony. Andrew. Sorry, Tony's the dad. I'm all over the place with this one. You interrupted me so much.
I did. It was terrible. I'm sorry.
You're pouring wine, too. So Andrew knows Chubba because Andrew's mom, Tony's wife, the former USC cheerleader, was, I guess, best friends with Chubba Purdy's mom all through childhood and in high school. Mm-hmm. So they've been family friends forever. So literally he's known Chubba. Even though he grew up in Jacksonville, Chubba was born in Arizona, and they're 3 or 4 years apart. He's known Chubba since literally Chubba was born. Mm-hmm. Like family reunions, and whenever they'd go back out to the West Coast, they would meet up with the Purdy family. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty cool. So he hosted Chubba on the visit.
Yeah, and Kenny Dillingham was like, hey.
Doesn't that say something about Dillingham, too? I don't know how he knew that. I'm sure he called the family. And the family's like, oh, yeah, we got a family friend out there, your center, Baselli. He's like, oh, really? And I'm sure he's looking at the roster. We got a Baselli on this team? And then he said he went over to Baselli like literally 2 or 3 days after he got there. And it's like, hey, I heard your boy's with Chubba Purdy. And he's like, yeah, he's a family friend. I've known him for a long time. And he's like, good, we need him. He's a ball player.
Yeah.
And Baselli's like, all right, okay, whatever I can do. And so he hosted Chubba on the official visit.
Yeah. What kind of
it's a bummer they only get to play together for a year.
Yeah. I thought kind of what was cool about the end of the story with Andrew talking about that was, because he hosted him, and it's like, well, what do you say to a kid when you're hosting him on a trip with a coach that you don't even know?
Yeah.
Right? How do you do that? And he talked about, listen, you got to commit to the school. He's like, coaches are going to come and go, but like, how do you feel when you step on this campus? And he talked about the questions that, kids ask when you're hosting, like what a recruit usually asks you about, and it's not football. I mean, the kids ask them about, what are classes like? How tough is it to get to, they ask about parking, and then we're like, what do you ask? I'm like, what do you tell them about the parking? I mean, everybody starts cracking up.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, well, I told them to get a
scooter, yeah.
The parking in Tallahassee, I'm sure every major university has over 30,000 undergrads.
It's never good, never good.
But we're definitely not an exception to that at all. But I thought that was pretty interesting, just kind of, what you have to tell guys when you're hosting them on a trip like this. And then, we asked Amari the same thing about these meetings that have been happening. Levante hinted at it the other day, and I tweeted it out. It was the day that I did the show with Dallin and with Michael or whatever, because Levante said that he was supposed to have a one-on-one meeting with Mike Norvell. And, we kind of asked him, like, do you think he's going to ask you about what it was like around here? And he's like, probably. And then I put it out on Twitter.
Yeah, because he's not going to coach Levante Taylor. Yeah.
So, like, what would you do if you're Levante? And I put that out. I told people to tweet at me. I'm like, would you just kind of be like, I'm not snitching, like, whatever, it was all good. We just kind of had a couple bad breaks, and that's how life goes. Or would you be like, yeah, this was kind of weird. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. And everybody tweeted back, and I would just lay it out. Like, I'd tell Norvell everything about what I felt. Like, if you care about Florida State, if you care about what's going to be your alma mater, you would give him all the information he's asking you about to get things corrected.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I would too.
And Andrew Baselli and Amari, and I asked them both, I'm like, in that one-on-one meeting, was there any discussion and conversation about the past? And they're both like, yeah. I mean, like, so Norvell wants – it was sort of they both said that he just kind of let them ask any questions they had, that he let them talk about who they are and what they've been about. And then he kind of asked a couple questions. But I think it's kind of like a fact-finding mission, because if you're Mike Norvell, you probably want to know – to a certain degree, like, what do these kids think about what they inherited? Not that you're going to maybe change who you are. I mean, you're not going to change who you are, but there's probably stuff you can tweak, or you want an understanding of what you're walking into, right?
Yeah, and I think, Baselli's a good one. I would go to all the upperclassmen. I would really heed the advice of the guys that aren't going to be playing for you, because they got nothing to lose. They got no reason to lie. They got no reason to sugarcoat it. They're not worried about playing time or angering someone, or they are looking like they're making excuses for themselves. Like, this is the reason we weren't any good. It's because coach was holding me back. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be like, this is why. When you're talking to Cam Akers, when you're talking to Marvin, when you're talking to Levante Taylor, they can tell you what they thought their problems were, what the problem with the program was. Yeah. And if they all match, right, if all their answers match, then you got something. You got something to work with that needs to be changed. And obviously there are things on the field that we all know need to be changed or fixed or improved. But things in the locker room, things, administratively, nutritionally, weight room, whatever. Mm-hmm. If all their complaints are similar, well, then that's a lot of good feedback that you can use. That's a really smart thing. I didn't even think about that. Like, why when you said that, I'm like, why would he even meet with Levante? He's not coaching him. But, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'd meet with all those guys first.
Yeah. So that was the thing that popped into my head, because when he said that, I'm like, well, obviously, why would he want to know, like, your thoughts on anything? It's like, well, he probably wants to know what he felt like the last 4 years was like, compared to this, to that. And then, because you want to, I don't know, man, I don't want to always bring everything back to dating, but I feel like it's probably the most, like, universal thing we can all agree on. Like, you're dating a new girl. I mean, when you start dating Stephanie, you probably want to know something about her, past or whatever. And you ask those questions naturally when you're dating and you learn about somebody.
Well, and I doxed her
as well.
I got her. I went on Facebook. I did all her social media. I got it all.
Got the PI. But yeah, I mean, when you're dating somebody, you ask questions and you learn about each other, and you don't have that luxury when you have 85 guys on scholarship, and you've got to get more kids in here, and then you got to move your own family, and then you got to start recruiting another group of kids and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have the time to kind of organically learn about everything. So it's like, why not just start bringing these guys in? And I think that was a really good thing too, because it did seem like recruiting became such a big focus for them, and that it's the double-edged sword of things where I appreciate this staff trying to get the recruiting class salvaged as much as they can, but I think to a certain degree you need to win these kids over. You need to help get back and secure their trust and work on that opportunity that you're asking them to give you, because ultimately there's going to be 60 guys left over, and you're going to bring in 20-something. So focus on the bigger number. So I thought that was pretty interesting and maybe illuminating.
And I wonder what Odell will say. He's the guy that, he's never going to want to throw anybody under the bus. He's never going to want to, I don't think. No. But I that's the conversation that I would be, if I could be a fly on the wall for any of them, it would be that one, to hear what Odell says about the last 3 years. Because Norvell's wants to know. Like, dude, what? Norvell's a college football fan. They all on that staff are. They all want to know, like, dude, what happened? Y'all had a 29-game winning streak and sending everybody to the league. And now you're 18 and 19 your last 3 years. What happened? And see what his take is on it.
Yeah. And the last thing I might have buried the lead on this whole vague, nebulous, ubiquitous term of culture. We keep hearing about how important that is. And, it's not going to be a universally accepted or embraced thing when new rules are kind of put upon people. And I was talking to Ira, and because he was there at the availability as well, and he kind of recounted an anecdotal story about a guy who took over a YMCA in a town that he was working at, and kind of had to try to clean it up and instill some discipline in the young kids that were coming there, and all the pushback he got. It's when you start instilling new rules, some people might think, oh, that's a good thing. That's going to that's going to help put people on a better path to focus, and then some people are going to be like, well, that's a ridiculous thing to even care about. But Andrew Baselli was telling us, and he's wearing a baseball cap as he's telling us this, but amidst the story and the one-on-one conversation he has with Mike Norvell is also giving him expectations for what he wants to do, and he's going to change some things. Obviously, he's a new head coach, but one of the things is no hats, no earrings when you step in the football facility, into Moore Center. And apparently, and he told that he was talking about this after we got done interviewing him. Apparently, this is something that kind of maybe Odell sort of began opening up. I guess Odell's rule was no hats in the meeting room, no hats in the Fig dining hall. Well, Norvell's taking that another step further where it's like no hats, no earrings. And then, that's going to get pushback. People might think that sounds ridiculous. I remember when I was in high school, you weren't allowed to wear flip-flops. You weren't allowed to wear sandals or flip-flops or anything like that. It's like,
that should be everyone ever.
And then you go to college, and it's like I'm wearing flip-flops to school every day. That's so dumb.
And it's also gross. Nobody wants to see anybody's feet.
That is true.
If you're on the beach, it's fine. But if you're just wearing flip-flops in day-to-day life, what are you doing to people, man?
Unless you're like in Key West, which is fine.
That's fine if it's but I mean, there's kids on campus. Like you're in the English class in flip-flops. Right. Like nobody wants to see your and feet are just gross. Even pretty feet are gross. You know what I mean? Like
no,
they're
pretty feet are pretty, buddy.
No, they're pretty for feet.
Ow, ow.
But it's not like you're. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look at the sole! Look at
those toes!
Look at the toes! Look how that second toe! Look how big that second toe is!
Oh no, I don't like a big second toe.
That's half of the.
Ew, no.
That's half of the world.
If the second toe is bigger than the big toe, I'm out.
Yeah, my second toe looks like my middle finger.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it's. Can you see it out of my shoe right now?
Oh, that's what's pointing. Yeah. But I think about the video that people posted the first spring game.
By the way, why is he wearing a hat and saying that?
Well, he's kind of enjoying it. Mike Norvell hasn't taken over.
Okay.
It's still
so
Odell's
he's getting his
team.
last.
Your last at-bats in.
There was some irony there about how he's setting new rules and he doesn't want any hats in the building as he's wearing a hat in the building.
Yeah. Who knows, man? Mike Norvell might see that and make him run gassers after
Absolutely.
practice. Like, hey, Odell, I'm going to have to step in on this one.
Yeah.
Gassers, Baselli. I think about the video that everybody posted. Well, some people on social media screenshotted stuff from the players that first spring game when Willie did the draft, and it was just like it looked like a frat house. It was crazy, just pandemonium, guys going nuts, and I mean, everyone was so starved for this program to be fun again and have some renewed energy after what happened with Jimbo leaving. And I wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't disgusted by it, but I wasn't like, oh, this is great. They're all getting along and smiling. We're going to win 13 games this year. ACC championship back in Tallahassee. But you think about that, and you think about a guy who is no hats, no earrings, man. Like in Odell, I mean, just think about being able to wear a hat into a meeting room. I know that sounds crazy to some people, and you see Hard Knocks, and the guys that are walking in there are in T-shirt and shorts and sandals and things. But like, I don't know. I think you shouldn't be. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about that. Like, I think you can be comfortable, but like, yeah, I don't want you to wear a hat because I can't see your eyes. If I'm trying to make eye contact with you in a meeting and talk to you about stuff. And yeah, well, I'll wear my hat on backwards. No, it's not about that. It's about again, to what he said in the introductory press conference. Like, the way you do some things, the way you do everything. So I think when if something as minute as we want to wear suits coming off the bus when we're doing road games. We want to have no hats, no earrings. We're just going to focus on this is a business, because that's what I think it comes down to ultimately. These kids, more than anything, I know Willie's whole ethos was, I want these guys to love me. I want them to believe in me. I want them to love each other, because they're going to play so much harder when you believe in somebody, because that's the way Willie played. Willie loved Jack Harbaugh. His teammates loved Jack Harbaugh. They played their freaking rear end off for Jack Harbaugh, and they were really successful. I don't know if that works in this day and age at this caliber of football. I think you tell these guys, listen, man, I really want y'all to like me. I hope they like me. I'm sure Mike Norvell wants to be liked by his players, but listen, I want to win. Let's win football games. Let's get you a degree. Let's get you the hell out of here and into the NFL. And I think they can appreciate that way much more than being able to, pick the music and pick this and all that kind of stuff. And again, it's a little minor thing. Now, I'm not saying that is going to be responsible for going 6-6 and going 8-4 next year. Again, I think these are little minor tweaks that you're seeing. These are the things that are encouraging to me. Somebody asked on Seminole or Renegade Express yesterday about what are the things you're looking for. Little things like that. I haven't seen them play football. I haven't seen them practice. I haven't seen them play a game with Mike Norvell. But to me, I like that kind of stuff. I just am. I mean, I do. I appreciate it.
I know you do, buddy. I know. I think we're both of the mindset that we know that it doesn't. If you're wearing a hat or not really wearing a hat, isn't going to be the difference in a championship season and a 5-loss season. But it's if you're trying to establish who you are as a coach and what the rules are. That's fine. If it carries over, which it should, to practice, to me that's all that matters. The practices have to get just much better. You have to get more out of them. They didn't get a lot out of their practices the last 2 years, especially the 18 ones. And then I guess this year on defense, I don't know what they were doing, but it didn't seem to be practicing much.
Jogging and looking back for the ball against a fellow defensive back.
Yeah. So that's much more interesting to me is how much we're going to be able to watch in the spring of their practices, the style of practice, and just how intense the practices are, and how the players respond to that. More than a hat or not. I mean, it's fine. I get it. We couldn't wear hats when I went to school. We weren't allowed to wear hats in high school.
I'm not Steinbrenner family. I'm not saying you got to shave and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just think this program needs structure. I mean, I'm saying discipline. I don't like discipline. You guys listen to the show every day. I'm a freaking jerk about a lot of things. I don't like structure. I don't like being told what to do.
You like other people being told what to do.
Damn right. And I want to tell them what to do.
Right.
I think this is something that can tangibly make a difference, hopefully on the practice field, to your point. I do. I mean, and I know I'm not of the belief that anything different is better than what was going on. I think so much of what Willie did, everything was different, and everyone's like, well, this is great. Well, sometimes there's certain hard and fast rules that have applied to this game and this sport for so long that need to be maintained. And we'll see if Norvell's vision kind of fits aligned with that. And
you know what I wonder too, just thinking about this before we wrap up, is there were at least 3 or 4 guys on Willie's staff that kind of owed their careers to him.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And maybe not owed. David Kelly did things before he met Willie Taggart. He won a state championship as a high school coach back in my neck of the woods.
But
in Atlanta.
Financial security that you've now
they got a lot of financial security because of Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
And does that make you a yes man more than you need to be? And will Norvell? I just don't see this staff being put together in a way that these guys are yes men, that they won't. And I'm not saying these other guys will. I was never in a coach's meeting with Willie, but you could understand just how humanity works, how humans work. That if this guy is responsible for so much great things in your life, great success, then maybe you don't push back as hard as you should if he's making mistakes. And I think other than maybe Dillingham, and even Dillingham got hired at Auburn. Now it was one of Norvell's protege or mentors that hired him. But Dillingham got hired all on his own at Auburn. So it's not like it's like, oh, gosh, thank you, Mike Norvell, for giving me this chance. I would have never had another opportunity. Thomsen won't be like that. Dugans and Odell certainly won't be like that. Like, he won't have – if he has a bad idea or if people think he's doing something wrong, I think there will be pushback. And I also think – I'm not speaking for Willie. I'm just talking about how human beings can work. He'll have respect for their ideas. You know what I mean? I think he'll let them bring ideas to the table, and he might not take them all, but he'll respect them all. All these guys, most of all these guys, we'll see how he finishes out the staff, have all made their bones somewhere else. He crossed paths with them. Mm-hmm. But other than Dillingham, there's nobody that owes their career to Mike Norvell.
No, you're right. I mean, think about like all the guys that Urban Meyer had. Whether he had like a guy like Tom Herman, who then ended up getting a good job. Nick Saban had Kirby to kind of bounce things off of. Dabo's got Brent Venables to lean on. Willie never had, and that's unfortunate for Will. It's not a knock on Willie. Willie never had like a really equal peer kind of guy who'd been out and seen how things work and he could lean on to be a sounding board.
You would have hoped Harlan could have been that guy. But Harlan only been in coaching 5 or 6 years.
And but personally, I'm saying Nick and Kirby know each other probably inside and out. I think,
and he didn't know Harlan.
Yeah. And it took a little bit for Venables and Dabo to develop their chemistry. So, that is a good point for sure too. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
But hey, we don't know who his next 4 coaches are. They all might be family members.
If it's going to be Marv.
He might hire, his wife. We don't know who he's going to be hiring to fill out the staff, but assuming it goes the way it's been going, they're going to be people that from other jobs that he has a connection with or has heard good things about or something, but aren't necessarily guys that are just almost feel beholden to him. They don't feel beholden to him. Like, all right, man, right. I don't need this. Mike. I mean, there could be conversations. Hopefully that never happens, but there was never going to be like that with Willie. I don't think so. Yeah. So there are differences. Let's hope there's a lot of differences.
All right, there's probably a half dozen questions.
Yeah, rip off 2 and let's get out of here.
No, we're done.
All right.
We're going to keep them so we have something to talk about on Monday because we'll talk to Odell later today, but that probably won't be enough to carry a 45-minute show, and I don't know how many more hires are going to happen. But if those hires happen, it'll take about 15, 20 minutes, and we'll get to the rest of the questions.
Sweet.
And then we'll send everybody off on a Merry Christmas. Corey, say goodbye for us.
I love you guys.
If you want an adventure, you could climb a mountain or ride dune buggies through the desert. Or you could just head to your neighborhood Zaxby's. Introducing the Smokehouse Cheddar Barbecue and Southwest Chipotle Filet Sandwich Meals. They're brand new and they'll take your taste buds to wild and exciting new places. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, and they're both available for a limited time. Only at your neighborhood Zaxby's. And don't miss Jumanji: The Next Level, only in theaters.